We'd like to thank our sponsors, Ocean Stone Architectural Lighting. Fully customizable track lighting systems for your home, all controlled by an app on your phone. From individual lights to full color spectrum of lights, it's easy to use. You can set timers for special events or seasonal lighting, and what I find really cool are the preset patterns and animation. To get a free quote for your home, go to oceanstonelighting.com.
Welcome to the Quick Tap Rugby Outliers podcast.
I'm Nate Augsburger.
I'm CJ.
I'm Chef Rock.
The podcast that brings you an elite perspective into MLR rugby.
Welcome to another episode of Quick Tap Rugby Outliers podcast. I'm your host, CJ. Before we get started today, because everybody's practicing social distancing, I want to say a very deep sympathy to Carl Anthony Towns, whose mother's passed away today. One of our famous co-host is from Minnesota, and so I know he may have a special moment you want to say about that. But they get back to the show, and hope everybody's safe. But practicing social distancing today is the great Nate Augsburger, one of, if not the best scrum half in the MLR. He is USA Eagle in both 17s and 15s, and he's a San Diego Legionnaire. So welcome Nate Augsburger.
Nate.
Thank you.
How you doing, buddy?
Appreciate it. Yeah, good to see you guys, man. Excited.
Right on. Also practicing social distancing. We're trying to make sure that we keep him far away from us. Is the celebrity chef, host of the Chef Rock and television series, launching soon on the Roku channel and Amazon Prime. A sports enthusiast, baby. Sports nut, and a rugby newbie. As celebrity Chef Rock. What's up, Chef Rock, baby? How you doing,
Good to be with you guys. Can't wait for when we're all together.
I feel like there was like, who could it be now? When Chef Rock was getting there. I don't know. That should be your opening theme song.
Yeah, if I had hair, I'd be shaking it.
Yeah, please put that hat back on, please.
Thank you, brother. Hey, I got a good
see that, you know what I'm saying?
I got a chrome dome like you.
So hey. You don't know what's under here, bro.
Oh, like intelligence.
Listen, so how you guys been, man? How you been doing, Nate, in this time of privacy and solitude and quarantine?
It's all good. I've been finding ways to move forward. I'll describe my morning. Went a little bit like I drive a couple blocks away, and I got a bunch of stuff in the trunk of my car, and I just ran sprints in the street. Wow. So I did 16 sprints total. 12 of them were kind of like uphill. So I had a little bit of an incline, not like a high degree, but a little bit of an incline working on my speed. And then 4 of them were downhill to work on moving even faster. So, yeah, I got my work in this morning and got to the grocery store, made a few things happen.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I did some sit-ups this morning and got a cramp. I was talking to Chef Rock earlier, and I was like, "Man, I just got a cramp, bro. It was crazy."
I feel your pain. I got a cramp just listening to you.
I try my best while I'm inside to try to get some exercise in and try to do a little workout. I'm not doing much. I'm trying to stay indoors. I'm at one of those high-risk people, you know what I'm saying? So I had a little high blood pressure. So I try to stay inside, but I'm getting a little workout in. I'm doing okay. I'm not doing what you did. If I did what you did, I'd be in the hospital. What about you, Chef Rock?
That's right. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of cooking. So, coming up with some new ideas, trying to create some new gigs. I got a new gig this week that starts in May. A Zoom cooking show, basically awesome. Like an hour long for a private company, big company, but private. That just came about. That'll be fun. Be able to reach out to the people. Yeah, I'm actually doing another cool show with a friend of mine where I send him a list of ingredients. He goes shopping. He's on the East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast. And then I get on the phone. We call it 1-800-CHEF. And then he actually follows my instructions over the phone verbally, and he's creating the dish. And he's not a cook. And we'll see what happens. It'll be hilarious. And then he's going to try to figure out, and he won't know what the recipe is until I tell him.
Is he recording this at the same time?
Oh, yeah. We're going to be shooting it for a regular show for live. It'll actually be live on Instagram. I'll let you guys know when. We're talking about starting next week, so that'd be pretty cool.
Please do.
An experience.
IGTV.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful, baby. Other than that, just hanging out, you know,
Well, that's
gaining weight.
good, man. Well, I can't wait to get back in the studio with you guys and see you guys and talk to you guys face to face. But this has been a good experience. We got some guests on. We had a good guest, mine I knew last week, and
That was great.
We have one of the best. I mean, just say one of the best rugby players, NFL player. So I'll let Nate go ahead and introduce his boy.
Yeah. So today, pretty excited to have Nate Ebner. Nate Ebner is on the show. There he is.
Here we go.
The man
What's up,
himself.
Nate?
All right.
What's up, guys?
Super Bowl champion, 2016 Olympian. And everybody's going to get to know a little bit more about Ebner's upbringing with rugby.
That's
And I'm excited to hear about it. Nate, how you doing, man? You good?
I'm good, bro. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You been working out or what?
Bro, every day. You know that. It's part of the blood. It's not just for show here.
We'll get back to that later. We'll get back to that. You're obviously not doing very much upkeep with your hair and stuff, but that's for another time as well.
No, at least I don't got that military cut like you. You know, I got.
I'm trying.
I see you still working on that beard, though.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, thanks. Well, hey, Nate, we're excited to have you on, man. And to not waste time, just want to get started on like what we were kind of chatting about. And I don't think most people understand how it goes growing up in a rugby community or having rugby introduced to you as a kid. And we spoke about it. I grew up, my dad played when I was 2 years old. I was at games on Saturdays, running around with a rugby ball.
Yeah.
Got taught at a young age. You know, that's something that you shared with your dad as well growing up. So I just wanted to touch on some of that. And then obviously I wanted to hear about kind of more about like being at the Junior World Cups. That's something that you did way before, obviously, being a walk-on at Ohio State and getting your way into the NFL. And also then also the first CRC, which I got some points on that. But go ahead and talk to me just a little bit about, you know, your dad's impact and your introduction to rugby.
Yeah, man. From the beginning, I was on a rugby field. You know, I remember I kind of briefly talked to you about how I'm in the process of writing a book, which will probably come out in a year or so. We can talk more about that later. But, you know, throughout that process, I kind of was talking to my mom about, you know, when was the first time you really remember me being around? And she was like, you know, your dad used to bring – I used to bring you to your dad's games in a carrier. So, you know, I'd sit on the sidelines of the games in a carrier, you know, before I can even really remember. But I do know 6, 7 years old, I'd be out there with them, throwing the ball around. They'd play little like kids touch games at halftime and stuff. So, you know, it's a very underground world, especially back in the 90s when I was out there doing it. And, you know, all those guys – part of that rugby team treated me like I was an extension of their family, and it was a very special group to be around. And just the whole, you know, aura of the entire thing outside of just the rugby and learning the game, but the people you're around and the quality of people you're around that care about one another. I mean, it was a very unique brotherhood that I don't want to say I took it for granted, but I didn't really realize how special it was until I got out into the world and you experience different groups and whatnot, and the genuineness, if you will, of the rugby community is something special. And that's something I'll always remember about it from even the beginning days when I was a kid.
Right. And I feel like I have very similar experience with that. And it's kind of funny thinking about like our dads. My dad picked up the game after college, and Nate's dad was actually a University of Minnesota rugby player. So, you know, I followed in his footsteps and played at the University of Minnesota. But our dads probably at one point or another crossed paths, actually being both from the Midwest. Our dads probably would have played against each other. Or my dad was talking about in the 80s, a bunch of guys that he would have known that played against Columbus, which is a team that Nate Ebner's, his dad was playing for, you know. So it's pretty
Scioto Valley Rugby. Rugby
Yeah,
Club.
Scioto Valley. Okay, yeah. So my dad was playing Minneapolis rugby, and I go, hey, did you play against Columbus? He goes, I didn't play against Columbus, but I played against Scioto Valley all the time.
Scioto Valley is the Columbus team.
So here we are, our dads playing against each other, you know, and lo and behold, just kind of that's what the rugby community is very tight knit. It's special. You ask one person about rugby, and then you find a way to know someone else to a degree.
Yeah.
And
another on that note though, man, when my dad passed, the amount of random messages I got from people who knew him in the rugby community, I couldn't even put a figure to it. Obviously the people who knew me directly reached out to me, but the amount of people that like came out of the woodworks that knew my dad just through rugby that felt the need to say something and obviously gave me some nice words, but that just shows the type of people that you're dealing with, and like speaking to the group that you're a part of. I mean, just quality people, man.
And I want to get into, before we move on to other topics, I want to get into your college rugby. So by the time you get to college, you're already kind of on the USA path, correct? Like you'd already been.
I went. So the way it worked for me was at 16, I went to my first developmental camp with Salty Thompson down in Arizona. That was supposed to be for me, I think, a developmental camp that I would kind of work my way into the squad. But I actually made the U19 team to go to Dubai in 2006 and play in that Junior World Cup. I didn't play a lot, but I was the youngest player in the entire tournament. Just turned 17, I think, when the tournament started. But that was really my first exposure, and just practicing with the guys. I mean, just the experience of the camp, if you will, prior to the World Cup. Training with those guys got me so much better. James Patterson, I don't know if you know the name James Patterson, but he was one I really learned from. He played outside center. I was kind of playing fullback at the time. Learned so much from him. But I'd say 16 was when I first kind of got exposed to Salty in the under 19s. I was a junior in high school, and then senior in high school, I did the second stint of the U19s in Ireland, which was 2007. And then we actually did really well in that Junior World Cup to get promoted to the A pool. So then they changed the under 19s, the under 20s. And I actually got to go to the under 20s. So I was a freshman in college through that transition from high school to college. I went to Ohio State, and then I got my freshman year. I was a freshman All-American in the fall, and then got to go to that final U20 Junior World Cup. And
who did
to Wales?
Ohio State's nationals got cut short by somebody. Who did you guys ended up taking an L to University of Minnesota?
It was a good game, you know.
Actually, so I got a story for that. I was at that game. I wasn't in college yet. My older brother played, and he was playing fly half.
Yo, I was lucky out there eating that day. I don't know if you remember that day, but I really was.
Let me get to it. You took the L, but he took a loss, but I was there. And I actually remember watching Nate because he had like 2 or 3 tries at fullback. I think University of Minnesota ended up winning like high scoring game, like 40-something to 20.
It was close. Y'all won by like 1 or 2 tries, but I was actually playing fly half there because at Ohio State I played fly half just because, you know, at that level, like to get it all the way to the fullback, it was harder to do.
Yeah, you want to put your best players at the positions where they're going to touch the ball all the time, you know?
Right. But no, that was one of the funner tournaments that I've ever played in. It was a freaking hike from Columbus, Ohio, but we got out there, and
it was in Iowa.
Yeah, it was a blast though, man. It was a blast. I remember hitting a drop goal in the middle of one game because we got advantage, and I just was like, "Screw it, let's just see if this works," you know. And I made it. And,
that was
that's the only one I ever hit in a game.
Nate, you were talking about when your father passed, you had a lot of people sent you obviously well wishes and stuff because the rugby community is a very tight knit community. Now, so isn't that Ohio State Buckeye community?
That's right.
Very tight community, and I want to say I was born and raised in Springfield. and
Okay.
I'm a Buckeye through and through. But I will say this: I always wanted to play at Ohio State. Never had the courage. Well, I was a great football player in high school. I never got letters. Got letters from everybody except Ohio State. But you walked on at Ohio State. What was that experience like walking on? Because if I knew that I could really walk on and be an impact player, I would have done it. So how was that for you? What was that experience like?
Oh, the walk-on experience at Ohio State, man. That was big for me because kind of as Nate was alluding to, I didn't play football in high school. I was playing on the junior national team, and I was trying to kind of pave myself a little career here in rugby. But whether you want to talk about why my decision to play football, we can get into that if you want to. But I decided to walk onto the football team, and it was, I will say, that walk on to Ohio State when I finally made the team and kind of got involved in football. It was probably the most humbling thing I've ever done. Wow. Because athletically I was capable. I could run fast and I was strong and all that, but I just didn't know anything about football, man. I grew up my whole life playing rugby, and then they start talking about all these different formations the offense is in and the different packages the defense is in, and I'm like, what's cover 2, cover 1? I didn't know any of it, so I had a lot to learn. And that was probably the hardest part for me. But that happened right after my dad had passed. The last conversation I actually had with my dad was about me wanting to walk onto the football team. Right. And after that happened, and then he passed, I kind of, I was very convicted to make that conversation become a reality. And
that's awesome,
I had a lot of tunnel vision during that time in my life. Nothing was kind of going to really stop me. And I didn't really talk to anybody. But it was, it was definitely a grind. And I'm thankful for the brotherhood, because at a time in my life when I needed something to lean on and something to dig into and something to wake up every day and light a fire under my ass and make me feel something, Ohio State football was there for me, and those brothers were there for me. So I can't be more thankful. Obviously, what a great platform for me to get to the NFL as well. So
right, no, absolutely. One of the things about Midwest sports and East Coast sports, people take it really, really seriously, and they're connected to each other. I live in the West Coast now, and out here in San Diego, man, people it's not a big deal, but there, it's the whole town comes out for high school football games, high school basketball games, and they take it seriously. So that brotherhood at Ohio State is special, man. So
it is.
I never played there.
The Buckeyes are everywhere, man. The Buckeyes are everywhere. It's good to see a Springfield native, though.
Yeah, I was born and raised there, man, and I left there when I was my grandmother passed away, and so my mom wanted to get out of town, and so she came out to San Diego with a friend, and then I left my senior year in high school, and it was trust me, I tell you, different experience. Whole different experience when you come to California. Sure. Football was totally different. Everything was different. And I knew I was the best player at Mount Miguel High School in that football team. But the problem was that the coaches had their players that wanted to play. So I kind of did focus on something else in my life. But yeah, dude. Springfield was a small. We'll talk about that after the podcast.
Springfield was a small little spot, man.
Small little spot, man. Everybody knew everybody.
You remember the junkyard that was downtown, like right downtown?
Yeah.
Junkyard. That was Ebner's Auto Parts.
So I just called. When I was doing research on you, and I called my mom, and I actually called my aunt who actually still lives there, and they know the place vividly. You know what I'm saying? Some relatives actually went there. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah,
how do you forget a junkyard in the middle of the city?
You don't. But when I left, I was still. Again, I was 17 years old. But it's interesting. You ever remember this? This is my heart, dude. I don't know about you, but there was a place called Schuler's Bakeries. You ever eaten there?
Hell yeah!
Oh my god.
I got a friend. I got one of my dad's best buds. He'll send me pictures.
Exactly,
of Schuler's. And he won't even get me anything, and he lives down the street. I'm like, yo, can you give me a heads up next time? Schuler's is number one, bro.
Yeah, I have my relatives send us Schuler donuts and cakes out all the time, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, mushy grasses.
That explains a lot, Chris, CJ.
That's all right, though. I'm cool.
All right. Hey, well, I'm going to keep it going here, and Chef Rock's going to want to dive in here, but Ebbs, I want to switch it over to kind of a little bit of MLR chat. You're owner of New England Free Jacks, hence the hoodie, hence holding it down. But I just want to ask, the Raptors just fell out. The Raptors just left the competition. Not specifics in how that looks, but how much sense did it make to you to get involved with the MLR and the New England Free Jacks?
Yeah, man. I mean, from an opportunity standpoint, it's obviously anything starting up like that. It's riskier, I guess you could say. I know you remember pro rugby, right? It had its problems. I mean, I've been a part of that stuff since the NA4s. I even played in the NA4s. I know they've been trying to start stuff for a while. So, it's always risky from that perspective. But for me personally, man, from someone who was participating in the NA4s and something they were trying to start up and seeing pro rugby and seeing them just try to kickstart professional rugby in the States. And then, just the journey that I've been on through rugby in the U.S. and seeing how it's grown from a guy that was driving all over the Midwest to play in sevens tournaments in the summers, playing with the men because they didn't have kids, leagues. So my first game was in a B-side men's game at 13. Seeing that type of stuff and being a part of it to this coming full circle, and now I'm on the other side of it where a league has started, and I've been fortunate enough to have the ability to be a part of ownership.
That's awesome.
I mean, I can't really put into words how special that is for me as an opportunity. I mean, I think back to 19-year-old Nate Ebner before I had that conversation with my dad about walking on to the football team, and a lot of that was rooted in the fact that I wasn't really sure what direction rugby was going to take me in my life. I know I love rugby. It was my first love, undoubtedly, and it's something I'll always love. But at the time, would it have provided me a career in the United States? No, it wouldn't have. I mean, that was a big factor in why I started to look at other things and look at football. And, to think about it now, 10 years later, as there maybe being a Nate Ebner out there right now who grew up playing rugby, well, they can aspire to be a professional rugby player. They can play in the MLR. They can do it right here in the United States where they're bringing some of the best players in the world to come play in this league. And they can really start something special and kind of make a career for themselves and represent the maybe the United States on the national team, and the sky's the limit there. But they have that platform now, and to be a part of it and see that whole process, it's really special, man. And I'm very thankful to be a part of it. And hopefully I can take some of the experiences that I've learned in the NFL, being a part of that for nearly a decade now, and help apply that to what we're trying to do and make a league that sticks.
And you even brought a follower along, Patrick Chung.
That's right.
Very solid free safety for the Patriots. Right.
No. Oh, he's a beast on the football field. Man, I'd watch you guys. Yeah, we got to teach him rugby though. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I'll be like, we'll play. I always tell him we'll play a game. I'll play fly half, and you just play center next to me, and then I'll just tell you what to do the whole time, and I'll give you the ball. You can rock.
Just try it out on the Sail to Valley's freaking B side.
We'll be A side, dog. We'll be A side. Give me 2 weeks. We'll be A side. Anyways, but no, man, when I would watch the Sevens boys in their tournaments, a lot of back when you were out there running around, I'd sit in my locker and I'd watch you guys, especially on Saturdays, because you guys would be playing on Saturdays and we'd be in meetings all day, getting ready for a Sunday game. So a lot of times I'd just sit there in my locker, and Pat's locker is right next to mine. And I'd just be sitting there watching rugby, and he was always into it. And then this past fall, we had, the World Cup. I was in there watching it, and he was we're on the bus to go to an away game. He's sitting right next to me watching. Oh, what was that? What was that? He really liked it, and aside from liking rugby as a fan, it was a good opportunity for both of us, especially when you consider New England and our involvement in that community. And it just made a lot of sense, So got him along. I brought him along.
Need that. Chef, what's up, man?
Hey, Nate, the other Nate.
Yeah, Big Nate. I'm Big Nate.
You're Big Nate, Little Nate. Okay,
Big Nate, Little Nate,
let's get that
Nate
straight
squared.
right now.
I just want to say before he starts, I know where these questions are going to go.
No, you don't.
I'm a Bengals fan all the way through and through, just so you know. I was born and raised, so I'm just letting you know.
Hey, Nate. CJ's right. I've been a diehard Patriot fan since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
From the Steve Grogan days. I've been to many games at the old stadium, the aluminum seats.
Foxborough Stadium, yeah.
I'm from Connecticut. I went to college at Johnson & Wales. I'm a chef in Providence, so we go up every Sunday.
You're a chef?
Game. I'm a chef.
No way.
Chef Rock. That's right.
Nice.
So here's what's cool about it. Growing up as a kid, I grew up football. My Uncle Carmen and Uncle Frank would take us out when we were little kids and run drills in the yard.
Right.
With all my cousins. And they'd watch us. That's where I broke my nose the first time out of 4. It was in his backyard, running with the ball, with my head down and looking up, and my cousin's right there. Boom, boom, all over the place. So we grew up that way. And then one of my cousins actually did very, very, very well in the NFL. My cousin's Eric Mangini.
Yeah,
Mangini.
Oh, yeah.
A little before your time, Nate. But we grew up football. That's all we did. We lived it. We played it. I played through high school, but in culinary school there wasn't any football. Although we used to scrimmage against Brown University's JV and kick their ass. But that we'd go over there. All the guys. Our front line was huge. Every guy was over 4. All these big chefs.
Right.
So we lived it and we enjoyed it. I want one question, and I really admire the fact that you're a two-sport guy.
Is there a question in there?
Hell yeah.
I wasn't sure.
It's coming. You mind your business.
We're learning the requirements of being a chef.
Yeah, right? You got 4 minutes. No, so in 2016, one day after you signed your 2-year extension, the team released you to play for the Olympics, which, we touched on. Just from the Patriots end, because I had met Belichick and through Eric being there for those years and winning 3 rings, like you've won 3 Super Bowl rings, which is incredible. What were the politics on that? All I could think of, and the reason I'm asking is because I just watched all 5 seasons of Ballers in 2 days. So, it brought up all these questions about,
I tried to watch that first.
Getting injured.
I tried to watch the first episode of that show, and I was just like, dude, this is.
Oh no, you would have hated it.
I just had to
No, I'm sure guys who actually played probably wouldn't like it. But was there a lot of politics? What happens if you get hurt?
That was an interesting situation because. And Nate could probably speak to this too, but the Olympics was announced that they would be playing the Olympics in 2012, right, Nate?
Yep.
Right.
And then you had to qualify in 14, right? So in my career in the NFL, was it 14, right?
It was the season of 2014, but we actually qualified in 2015 because we didn't get top 4.
So 2012, I'm drafted to the Patriots, and NFL stands for not for long. So I don't know how long I'm going to be there, and I see that we've qualified for the Olympics, and then in 2014, 15, as Nate said, we did qualify. And undoubtedly we would be participating in the 2016 Olympics. And when I think about my entire life, playing rugby my whole life, what rugby means to my relationship with my father, just everything that rugby embodies. And then when I think about rugby not being in the Olympics since 1924, was that right?
Yep.
And now it is in 2016, and all that time has passed, and I just happen to be here in this moment right at this time when I'm in my athletic peak, if you will, to not only be able to participate in that Olympics because I'm athletically capable, but also because I have the understanding of rugby because I grew up my whole life playing the sport. You know what I'm saying? So all those things to culminate to brew right at that moment. I'm not really one that believes in fate, but that kind of makes me believe in fate a little bit, because I felt I had to do that. And as you said, Bill released me to go play or to be in the Olympics, but Nate can speak to this too. When I first got there, it was 50-50. It was rough sailing. Like, I had a lot to get back into things. Like, it took me a minute to get it back.
We had a talented team too, like
very,
we
very
were playing
good
well.
team.
We had a lot of promise,
Right. And I had my own shit to worry about, getting myself ready, not, in shape, just kind of get it all back. And I had to do it in a short amount of time. And there was no guarantee that, I would even make that team. I was just lucky Mike gave me a chance to come into camp with the guys and let me work. And luckily I found a way. I kind of came on late in the summer. I started hitting on, but my point to that is Bill didn't know if I'd make it or not. And, I was so convicted in that decision that had been building for years. I mean, I knew about it.
The seed was planted. Planted. Yeah.
I remember years before that summer, I'd be sitting in meetings and I would just be thinking about playing rugby, and I just couldn't help it. Everything in my core was pulling me to rugby and wanting to play. And when that free agency came around, we got the contract done. And then I said, Bill, look, like, I want to play rugby in the Olympics, I have to do it. It's something I have to do. Like, how can we make it work? And it wasn't really a big conversation. Bill, right off the bat, was pretty much with it. He did end up calling me back and saying, hey, we're going to have to put something in your contract. It's not like you're going sailing.
Right.
But I do remember him saying that. But, to be honest with you, I was so convicted that if he had said no, or whatever the case may have been, then I was willing to, come back after the Olympics and try to sign a 1-year minimum and just do something along those lines.
Really?
But there was no question in my mind that I was going to do that, because I just felt so compelled to. And, I'm one to live without regret, and I didn't want to wake up, in the fall going into the next football season thinking about what it could have been. And so I had to do it, and I'm glad I did.
I think it definitely speaks to your character, Nate, and how people know you. And on the surface, we would see posts up of Bill Belichick having like the Ebner.
Yeah, he had the shirt on.
The Ebner Olympic shirt on, supporting USA Rugby and stuff. Like, that was all really cool to see, just because, regardless of what you just said there are questions like, well, did he really support it or not? But to me, on the surface, man, it looked like, because of who you are, everybody was like, yo, let this dude have a crack. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're the only person from the NFL to go to the Olympics?
No, that's a short list. But and there's an even shorter list that
we need to get you a damn medal then.
I'm gonna tell you
that's what we needed to do.
And then there's only like 2 other people who've actually, or one other person, I think it's Bob Hayes, that have been in the Olympics as they've been active in the NFL.
Wow.
But nobody's been in the Olympics and then won a Super Bowl in the same year. Except for I got that one.
Toot.
Admire you for that. All right.
Take that one, yeah. It took a lot of that sounds cool and all, but you know how many people it takes to be involved in something like that, where you win you win a Super Bowl and you're part of an Olympics. I mean, so many other people. I mean, that's what I'm saying about fate. Like, it's crazy how that culminated. I mean, so many things have to go right. You could get hurt one moment and now all that goes away. So, it was special. It was a special year for me.
That's good.
Your job,
Thanks.
Nate, you've always excelled as well. You got named second team All-Pro as a specialist, right, in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, I could ask Nate to unclog my drain and he'll do it 110%.
You would? Dude, my wife's got me doing everything. I'm a carpenter. I'm a painter.
Exactly.
Everything right now, bro.
And so I wanted to dive into that and share. So you and me going into the Olympics, there was a guy that was with the Patriots at one point Dom Rosso.
I sent you a message. I don't know if you saw it just recently.
I probably didn't. But this guy was on the team, right? And he was kind of a defensive line hand combat. But
yeah, they brought him in to just kind of be a hand fighting specialist because, you know, there's so much hand fighting in football, mainly on the defensive line and offensive line. But, yeah, he would come in and he was a Navy SEAL and he would teach guys, you know, how to, you know, do stuff.
Really?
Violent moves. Oh,
I never heard that.
So this dude, he's like super, super energetic. And like Nate got to meet him and we started sharing videos of this guy and he's awesome. And he teaches like home self-defense, all this stuff. But his thing is crush everything. Yeah. So it's like mindset, you're going in to do your workout. He shows videos of himself working out. It's like crush it. Don't leave anything. Yeah, he's just intensely focused and committed, right? And then there's other people that I feel like me and Nate share kind of like a similar mindset and attraction to certain people. So, you know, David Gobbins, a guy who's been on Joe Rogan's podcast, dude who's a Navy SEAL, was 300 pounds, had to lose weight. It's got this amazing story, but like he even posted a video today where he's just like, stop feeling bad for yourself. And he just gets super focused on just like, if you want to achieve something, achieve it. You know what I mean? And
no excuses.
Yeah. And we were just talking earlier actually about our strength and conditioning coaches at the moment, or guys that we're close to. My current one, Jason Huntley from San Diego Legion, he is so good at the mental side of engaging in a way that you're actually pushing yourself to peak performance and to be clear. And those things, I don't know, it's like a big dog mentality sort of thing. And I feel like we used to
it's like what I said to you the other day. I was like, we all got our Dom Rosso somewhere. We all got one.
For sure.
You know, I got one from Ohio State I still stay close with. You'll know the name, my man. Anthony Schlegel. He was the one of the linebackers with AJ Hawk and Bobby Carpenter, the trio there. But Anthony is just a most energetic person I've ever met. Just positive, just spewing out of him. And you know, he's my Dom Rosso, man. I love working out with him because he's just juice all the time. And that mindset is everything. You know, you speak to all the little things you'd have me do, Nate. You know, plumb your toilet, whatever. I just new toilet in the other day. Yeah, you really can't. I mean, that comes from my dad, though, man. I got to be honest. Like, I grew up in a junkyard, blue collar as it gets, but not really something I really recognized. You know, it wasn't like we cared. You know, but we would never have anybody do anything for us. It was always, we can do it ourselves. Why pay somebody to do something that we can do? If they can do it, why can't we do it? You know, it was just. That's how everything was. And that's kind of the mindset I took when, you know, I walked on at Ohio State. And at Ohio State, and I'll leave you with this, but at Ohio State, they have the gold pants, right, when you beat Michigan. And you get you get a pair of gold pants if you beat Michigan. And the reason that started as a tradition is because the coach who started that tradition said, you know, the Michigan players, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. And that's kind of how that started. And when I walked on at Ohio State, I didn't know about that, but I had that same mentality. You know, these guys are all 5-star recruits. This is like the #1 football school in the country, blah, 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 blah. But I'm sitting here like, man, you know, they put their pants on the same way I do every day. Like, if they're out here doing it, I can do it. It's all about the work I'm willing to put forth, and I'm willing to die every day that I'm here.
Yeah. So, and those are the dudes that I want on my team. You know. And that's the mentality that as American rugby players we have to have, especially the ones who put on the shirt, and whether it's 15s or 7s, one who are putting on the USA shirt. That's the mentality we have as a tier 2 country, right? Mm-hmm. And it's got to be that. And I just love that about Nate. We share that mentality, man. Like I remember growing up, you know, going back, I couldn't wait on anyone to help me train for where I wanted to go with my rugby career. When I was in college, when I was in high school, you know, like I thankfully had an older brother that I could turn to, and we'd go do skills and whatever. I'd always try and find somebody, but man, just like the determination that you needed to just go out and get the work in. It's just a mindset, man.
At a young age, it's undoubtedly a mindset that you speak about, but it's a lonely road sometimes, and you got to be fine with that. At the end of the day, as an adult, I can say I can look at myself in the mirror and be proud of who I am because of the work that I'm willing to put in, that I've put in, that I'm willing to continue to put in, because of the mindset that I have. But as a young kid, if you want something, I can't tell you the amount of times I drive a bag of balls out to a random field and just kick at a tree to try to, by myself. And then I'd have to shag the balls and go do it again so I could get better at kicking and all those things. It's just like, it's a lonely road, and you really do find out like what separates you from other people. And then you can really attest to why you are getting better than other people. You can attest it's because of the work I put in, and you can see it.
It's interesting you talk about that. I'm sorry. Is that when I was growing up in Ohio, and it's that working class mentality. And
blue collar all day, baby.
Blue collar all day. And it's about people not having a lot and wanting to achieve, and a lot of people dreaming about leaving. In order to leave, you have to be better. You have to be good. You know what I'm saying? You can't be secondary, because secondary people come right back home to Springfield and amount to nothing. So that's one that my mama always taught me all the time. You're going to be the best at what you're going to do. You're going to do something, be the best at it, or you're going to work hard at it. So I learned at an early age to be every sport I played, work really hard. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I get that mentality you got. I really do.
It makes you genuinely find out about yourself, how you feel about the journey, how you feel about the work every day. It's people talk a lot, but people talk, even college football players that want to play in the NFL. They think they want to play in the NFL, but this is a full-time job now, son. You don't get to go to class half the day and then come in here, and you come to a place like New England where we were working
competitive
hard, that's that you find out about yourself if you're really about the work every day. The people that made it out in New England for 5+ years, I have just a different level of respect, because I know what I went through for 8 of them, and I know what they had to endure to make it that long. And not a lot of people do. And you just find out about yourself through the work. And, like I said, it can be a lonely road, but it's worth it if you can do it, if you can create that mindset to do it every day and better yourself, man.
Hey, Nate, I got a question for you. You going to the Giants?
I am going to the Giants.
I'll still follow you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, you know what? When Eric became head,
list.
I know. Well, when my cousin became head coach for the Jets, I became a Jet fan. Different audience in there. I remember going to the first game.
I mean, the Giants is one thing, but the Jets.
Oh my God!
If you're a New England fan, oh my!
Let me tell you,
don't broadcast this podcast to the East Coast.
It was a freaking eye opener. I remember going there with my mom and my brother Dave and my sisters Lydia and Maria. And we're there, and there's a guy next to us, one of those diehard Jet fans, and he's talking and yelling the whole freaking game. My mom, and he's swearing, G-E-T, like the fireman. And my mom just looked at him, and she goes, "Will you shut the hell up? I'm trying to watch the game." And we're in the stands, and it's all Jet fans around us, and the guy didn't know what to say. My mom's 80 years old, and he just looked at her. And then he said, my nephew is the coach. Don't make me go down there and get him.
Man.
The guy shut up the rest of the game. But I'll tell you what, it was like I felt a little endangered. Okay, I better be a Jet fan.
Yeah. That's crazy. What a flip-flop from New England to
God.
New York.
Blood runs thicker than water.
I'm excited about going to the Giants, man.
You should.
I'm just, I've spent 8 years with the same franchise. I'm very thankful, and I'm fortunate I've made it last that long. And, free agency has come up a couple of times, but it hasn't turned out that I've left. And, I'm excited that, I'm thankful, but I'm excited about a new opportunity. And I'm just ready to get going. This sucks that we're all stuck at home right now.
Did you leave because Tom left? That's the real reason.
Nah.
Is that the
I wish we had it that way where it was that easy. I could just say, "Oh, this player's not here. I'm gonna leave too." But
Tom got ghosted. You said you got to leave too.
nah, man, it's we all got to make what the best decision for ourselves, and like I said, every year free agency comes up and there's thousands of transactions and new players on new teams. I mean, it's nothing new, but every year we talk about it like it is, and but each time in each player's career, they got to make the best decision for themselves and what's best for them and their family and their career. And, it just so happens me and Tom at the same time, we're up and that we're both deciding to leave. But it's, individually just a decision you got to make, and you got to make the best move for yourself, like the teams do to the players. I mean, they make the best decisions for them too. So
right,
hard feelings. It's a business.
CJ, we got time for one more, right? Like I can get into this guy here. So speaking on the rugby community and stuff, it's awesome because there's, I've said on the show before, you can play rugby until you can't play rugby anymore. Like you can find a team, you can find a level that you can play at.
Yeah.
And not to put you on the spot, but out of interest, maybe a couple more years in the NFL, potentially, do you see yourself trying to play in the MLR or playing some rugby as a couple years at the back end of your career?
I always say to people when the off season comes, a lot of guys go play basketball because, that's what they do. They play pickup basketball. Well, I play rugby because that's what I do. It's like pickup rugby games, touch games, whatever. I was out in San Diego training with the Sevens boys because, I was going to see what was going to happen with me in free agency. And I wanted to be prepared if the Olympics came around, but obviously things have settled down. But no, man, rugby's not going anywhere. It's my pickup basketball. It's my first love. It's something that will always be a part of my life, and I will always play. But at what capacity that is, I can't tell you. If it's in a World Cup or an Olympics or with Scioto Valley's B-side in Columbus on a Saturday afternoon, or, that's what it is. But I will be around playing. I can't promise at what capacity, but it'd be dope if I could strap up against the Legion or wherever the hell you're at, so I can just get my hands on.
How you about to be an owner and a player?
Hey, because he was talking
team vibe.
If you listen to what they were saying, man,
there'll be juice.
Talking stuff. You know what I'm saying?
There'll be juice. As soon as I hit you, Nate, they'll be like, all right, this dude's for real.
Stop it. Stop it. I'll just pass the ball to someone who's going to score, and then we all good, baby.
I'm hitting you anyway, bro.
Listen to this conversation, man. I was figuring out Nate was, he was calling you out a couple times, there, brother.
Couple times.
You know what I'm saying? So I think you might just want to just practice a pickup game with him.
Yeah.
We'll be old men and we'll go to Aspen and play on the same team together and drink beer and knock the crap out of some other old men.
Hey man, it's our thing, and it's special that at 50 years old or 40, whatever, we'll be able to do that. There is rugby for an older generation or a middle-aged generation or a young generation, and at all capacities, the young kids to professional leagues, and we have it all here in the United States, and it's an exciting time for rugby in the U.S. We got the Olympics, talking about trying to get World Cups here. I mean, it's just all great stuff. And, rugby is a game for everyone. I want to expose it to as many people as I possibly can, because what the game has given me, I can't even really put into words. So I just want to share that with as many people as possible. And I know you feel the same way about it, bro. It's 100%.
A
great. Nate, I want to thank you, man, for coming on the show, man. It's been an eye opener for us and an experience, and I like seeing Nate want that small Nate, little Nate. I see little Nate talk to his
little Nate. Come on, not small Nate. That's disrespect.
My bad.
Little Nate, I can live with that.
Enough with those college.
Small Nate.
Enough of his college name.
You about to wake me up off that.
Thanks, Nate.
It's good to have someone, little Nate, talk to someone else in this profession that it gets you going, man. So we'd like to see him.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, bro.
Thank you.
Well,
You're the man.
Thank you. Hang out
Thanks,
for a
man.
little bit. We'll talk once we finish recording. We'll still talk. Thanks,
All right, man. Check your inbox,
Quick
Nate,
tap
dog.
out.
I'm gonna check it out.
Later.
Quick tap out.